That is.
Okay.
Okay. Well, welcome. Hello there.
Hey, Stephen.
Hello. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Hayes Carll, as I often type, Brother Hayes Carll. I know you're about to hit the road, so as I said, we could take the whole time talking about how amazing you are as an artist and inspirational, and your generosity, your continued humbleness. But let's get right into it, knowing that I myself, our listeners, viewers, all, as you deservedly often hear, have huge admiration for you as a person, as a human, as an artist.
Well, I really appreciate that, and it's great to be here with you.
All right. So one thing I was going to start off with here is given your range over the albums that include funny songs, serious topics, love songs, and a lot more, and various styles that have evolved over your albums in 20, 30 some years. There seem to be some consistent elements, especially the compassion, empathy, an exuberant lack of pretension. So all of that is sort of one part. And would there be any topic, style, subjects that you haven't ventured towards but might be thinking about? So double study.
Well, I'm as far as what I'm thinking about, that's part of what's fun about creation is you never quite know what's going to come out. So there have been times where I intentionally set out to try and write it in a certain style. And then there's times where I just start playing the guitar and see what happens. And I think there's probably musical styles that I haven't really dug into that I would be interested in. So I hope I'm not done expanding on, some of the things that I try and take on. That's the fun part of it, is growing as a writer and as a musician and as a performer. And the stuff up to this point, you have your sort of core influences that really stick with you and drive you. And I've been mining those for a long time. I've just got the people that I loved, and a lot of what you do is so influenced by those people, and you just try and find a way to put your own spin on it and find your own voice within some of using those as guideposts. So I like people who are humorous. I like people who can pack a lot of emotional punch. I like writers that rock. I like writers that are thoughtful. And there's a lot of different things I like, and they don't always go together neatly. So sometimes my stuff can be all over the map, genre wise or approach wise, but I try to just follow what feels good to me.
Yeah, well, I think all those things you just said are, exactly what I was saying. Resonate, and you do deserve excessive praise in comparison to some, perhaps, for being able to meld them as whatever verb you just use. That because I could list all sorts of examples of your songs over the years where you've got a lyric that's silly or about intoxication or whatever, and then the next moment you're getting into empathy and I don't think political, but sort of socio humanity, all that in one song. And say, I know one of your heroes, many people's influence, Bob Dylan. I think you do that sort of thing better. You, Todd Snyder, are people that do that really well. And you just mentioned it can't always be easy.
Well, thanks. Dylan's absolutely a hero, and Todd is as well. I mean, Todd's a friend, but somebody that I absolutely look up to as a songwriter and a performer. And I just like people that I mean, my main draw to music and to songwriting was that people, it helped me express what I was feeling and helped articulate my experience and help me feel better. And life is complex. It's not just a happy day or a sad day. There's nuance and different levels to it, and a lot can be going on at once. And I love it when people can help me articulate an emotion or express myself or feel better about things. And sometimes that's just, listening to Wild Thing and feeling that viscerally. And sometimes it's uh, a good story or something said from a point of view, giving you a perspective you didn't have before. And so I'm interested in all of it and finding what works and what doesn't for me. Um, uh, and I'm still doing that. I'm 46, still trying to figure out what my voice is and where my strengths lie and what I'm engaged with in a good way. I figure if I'm interested in it, then that's a good sign for me. If I'm not, then I'm doing it for the wrong reasons, probably.
Exactly. And certainly listeners, and if we do get to put this video on there, people that are going to find this are of that ilk of resonating with, with that honesty and truthfulness and doing it because you love it. And I've heard you say many times you would do this whether anybody showed up or not. And then the rest of your quote.
It's a hell of a lot more fun when people show up.
Right. Which I think is wonderful. And people do show up. And I think it might be, interesting to mention that you spent a lot of time paying your dues where you, I believe this is more of a question because I'm not you, but sleeping in cars, sleeping on beaches, being a poet in the back of a coffee shop, playing gigs for 3 people kind of stuff. Wasn't that a bit of your beginning, right?
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of folks, I didn't get off to a roaring start. And so yeah, I started playing in earnest in college, but I lived in a dry county, so there was nowhere to play really. There weren't any bars or anything. So then when I got out, I moved to this little beach town in Texas, and they had a lot of bars, but not many people. And but I started playing there, and yeah, during the winter it would be 2 people or 4 people, and they were watching the ball game on TV, whatever. But I was overjoyed, like I was on the stage. Well, not a stage, I was on the floor, but I was playing music and there was at least people hearing it and not leaving the room or telling me I was terrible. And so that was really exciting for me. And then when I started touring in earnest, it was the same thing. Like that had been my dream for so long. So the fact that nobody actually came out to the shows, or that we slept in our car, or that we, on whoever's couch we could find or whoever's porch we could find, that was irrelevant. I was just ecstatic to be in proximity, to be living this dream and in proximity to the people that had inspired me. And I was starting to play a club, and somebody that I really look up to had been there and their picture was on the wall. And so for me, it was just like, it was to come from not feeling like I would ever have any connection to this world to saying, okay, well, I'm at least, I see that they came through here, and I'm starting to meet people that knew people who knew these folks. And the degrees of separation started getting smaller and smaller, and it felt like a really unbridgeable divide. And when I started playing, it started feeling like it could happen someday, and that I could do this and meet these people and make this my life. And so the fact that I wasn't getting any money or was kind of not successful at it didn't bother me in the slightest, really. I was just thrilled to be in the game.
Right. I think, how one quantifies success. I think the fact you weren't not successful in the sense that first album, didn't, however you phrase it, sell like gangbusters at first, but people look back on it once you became known and love that album, very much as well. So it's not even, particularly by your second album, but even your first, you're not an artist where there's some are where you might hear, well, that first one was off to a rough start. You just nobody until people found you. Does that make sense? What I'm kind of.
Well, I know that it's been 20 years this month since I released my first record, and I think we sold 56 copies the first week or something, and it was like a disappointing number. But what I realized, you can't control people's reaction to your work. you can't control whether they buy it or not, or whether they like it or not. The only thing you can control is how much effort you put into it, and how, if you do the best you can do with it. So while I certainly would have loved to have had some success early on, that's not necessarily in my control. So I did the best I could, and then you leave that on the table and you move on. And so that's how I view stuff. I didn't want to sit around for 20 years hoping somebody would like that last thing. I just wanted to go on and do the next thing. And if people come, work backwards into my career and find stuff that they like or appreciate, that's all the better, But one thing I've realized is I just don't want to have regrets about the things that I can control. So again, I don't want to make a record for the wrong reasons, or for not give it, do the best I can with it. And then years later, whether it's success or not, look back and say, man, I didn't bring everything I could have to that project, and have to kind of wince thinking about it. I'd rather just, do the best I can, and whether it works or not, at least I know I can put my head on my pillow and say, I'm proud of that work.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
But yeah.
No, you're not the only one. And what I was trying to say was, I think you sold more than 50 copies of that album now. So
yeah, a few more, but it's still, it's still not a particularly successful record. But there's songs that I still play from time to time, and that
right.
It meant something to some people, and so it is what it is. And
I think it's wonderful, yeah. And that you're doing it for you, that gives you a peace of mind, and people keep discovering it. So the first topic or whatever, with someone, as you said, we both admire Todd Snider. He, and as you did with your recent You Get It All, there was definitely some different directions, which is extremely admirable for an artist that's, already got this thing going. So the question that I asked you're already doing, I think, but I'm not sure that that's a particular question, but just a praise of, because you have that very touching song that about the family member watching them go through aging.
Dementia, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, try and expand as a songwriter, as an artist, and I mean, I would say Todd takes bigger swings than I do in that regard, and that he, like this last record, he was playing all the instruments on it, or a lot of them, and was doing kind of a completely different genre of music. And so I admire that he goes for it, and there's some very sonically diverse records that he's made. And is really intentional about it, whether he's gonna be a trio with a fiddle and a guitar, or here's just a full band, or here's me solo. I like that he gets a theme and really chases it down. And this last record was just really funky, and in a way that surprised me, and I dug. So my stuff, I think, blends together a bit more in that I'm, with the exception of maybe my Lovers and Leavers record, that was the only really time where I said, this is a thing that I'm going for sonically and song-wise, thematically. And a lot of times I just write as many songs as I can and pick my favorite ones and try and put them together and then see if it makes sense. And I think he taught me to put a bit more thought into that part of it than I do.
I'm not sure I would agree. I think it's just different. And because when you did generously the birthday listening party where we got your Patreon, just whatever you want to call us, your Alone Together family, and we got to see you listening to the record for the first time, with some of those pieces we had seen during your very generous weekly Alone Together Tuesday, which really helped a lot of people's lives, by the way. And thank you. You were busy playing and listening, so you didn't see much of the chat. I know you saw some of my foolishness, but there were people commenting, "Oh wow, this is getting funky. This sounds different." So I think you did that, maybe not in that set out way you're saying with Todd, but in a way that worked just as beautifully. So Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah, because you also have what I would definitely say I respect is that while you have the song about dementia and something serious, you also didn't leave behind a drunken poet's dream style. You know, you've let, that's what my first comment was saying, is that those things flow through. And I think that's great. You know, personally, I wouldn't want you to fully abandon anything while you're also exploring new things. And I think most fans might feel that way. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, I just try and follow where your heart leads you, and I hope that that's interesting for the people watching, listening.
I think it is, and it works. And you know, your sense of humor. I mean, I often type, you know, he's a comedian poet with a guitar, but the way that can resonate in a sort of, you know, John Prine kind of way of where he'll have something just knocks your socks off with poetry to something almost meaningless to something profound, and you're achieving that more and more, I feel like.
Well, thanks. Yeah, John's was a big hero of mine, and for those reasons,
Oh, we're stuttering.
he can make me cry one minute and make me. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. You were saying John Prine is a big hero, and then we got some stuff.
My connection is unstable, so he
All
could
right.
run the emotional. I was saying he runs the emotional gamut. Yeah, can you hear me?
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. I was saying John's songs ran the emotional gamut and could make you laugh and cry, and the details were profound and silly, and I love that balance. He brought it all together for me.
Right, and I'm saying that you do that in the Hayes Carll way.
Thank you.
Let's see. Oh well, Kevin Shiny Ribs Russell gives you a big warm hello.
Yeah, I love Kevin. He's an inspiration as well. I really enjoy everything about that guy.
Yeah, I know he's just a hoot. I mean, you know, it's great to be able to, and you were one of the first people, you know, before the shutdown and all that, to get into live streaming, and you had your podcast show or however you aired that, and your Patreon. You were ahead of the curve, and you know, I think that's great. Let us know. You know, I'd love to hear and let them hear your feelings on that and how you got into it. And I also just think it's really great because in general and specific to you, it's something really wonderful. And I've heard you talk about it, about being able to connect, you know, my strange self, all your other fellas, being able to, and ladies and gals, you know what I'm getting at. So I think it's wonderful that you do that. And it's a plus of this modern era, you know. But you got in on it early a bit.
Well, I started doing live streams back in 2017, 18. When I was living in Austin, we used to go to a club called the Saxon Pub, and we would just stream stuff on Facebook. And I would sing a new song that I released to my Patreon crowd, and I would combine stuff. It was just really cool to me. It was the first time I started using those features of the being able to reach audiences through video, and I would get a response from Ireland or somebody in Idaho or somebody in Uzbekistan and somebody in Missouri, and I was all, you know, just in one club in Austin. It hit me that I could reach all these people through this technology. So when the pandemic came, I was already kind of set up, knowing how to do that stuff, and you know, my job had disappeared, so we started trying to you know, just threw the tip jar feature on there, and was able to, thanks to the generosity of so many people, be able to stay afloat financially. And then just as importantly to me, to like emotionally and mentally be able to connect. You know, we're quarantined in a really dark time, and so going out and playing music from my home every night or once a week or whatever it was, allowed me to not only enjoy that making music, but to have an audience for it and to be able to read the comments and hear the stories from people made me feel less alone, and like there was some connection and something positive happening during this time. So I was just really grateful to be able to do that, and to have most of all an audience out there that would tune in and support me in that. And it's been really moving to travel around the country since we were locked down, and meet folks who were part of the Alone Together Tuesday family. That's what I called my show. And have them tell me how much it meant to them. It's just been really, really special and powerful. So I feel like it was something that worked out for everybody. And so I'm grateful to have had it, but also excited to be playing live music again. So I'm looking forward to getting to Santa Fe and bringing the band and seeing people's faces when I play. That'll be nice.
Right. I know we got to wrap it up, but I want to say that you're not alone in that feeling, and that there are people I'm still connected with that listen to this show that I've not met, Susan Ramirez and many others. And I know Susan, you got a chance to see. But so not only, and I know you kindly were able to in addition to get money you deserve for your family. And by the way, I hope everyone's healthy. I wanted to say that.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, but you also were very generous with donating to causes, and the postcard you sent out, which was very well appreciated, and creates lasting memories and appreciation, and that carries on, and we appreciate it as much as you did, and you created, whether it was people that were really, really suffering or just stuck at home or whatever it was, it did work beautifully. And of course, live music is a beautiful thing too.
Yeah, right on.
So you're bringing a band, right?
What's that?
You're bringing a band.
Yeah, I'm bringing my band. So we'll be, it'll be a little different than those live stream shows, or a lot different actually. But we're gonna have a good time. Really looking forward to it.
Always do. Well, and I will throw out there. I've heard you say you love to connect with people, and maybe if you have energy and time, see the sites after. So I'd be honored if you have time, and I find you at the gig, let me know. We can see if we can have a little fun in person. And if I could ask one more, not about the past, but in more recent years, although I suppose the shutdown might have made this hard to answer. Once you're past the period of sleeping on beaches and couches and established, have you come across a sort of, a wilder gig than some of them? Sometimes you play the Lenzik in Santa Fe Big Theater. Sometimes are you still playing barbecue gigs, keeping a mix, I guess, of sizes?
Yeah, there's all sorts of shows out there. Some are small folk clubs and some are 20,000 people festivals. Sometimes it's a nice theater, and sometimes it's a barbecue cook-off in the middle of nowhere. And I enjoy them all for the most part, and I like the variety. So I think it would be a little less interesting if we were playing the same type of room every night. So.
Right. Well, I think we could wrap it up with the comment that you said of whether people show up or not, so that if you're not the drunken poet alone in the coffee shop, but that you're going to keep doing it is part of what resonates with everybody, and we all appreciate it.
Right on. Well, Stephen, thanks for having me on, and look forward to seeing you and the rest of your Santa Fe folks soon here.
Yeah. Oh, could I bug you one sec to do a station ID?
Sure.
This is 96.9 FM, KMRD LP, Madrid, New Mexico.
KMRD LP?
Yeah.
Madrid, New Mexico. All right.
I meant to type it for you, but.
Hey everybody, this is Hayes Carll, and you're listening to 96.9 KMRD. I've forgotten already. Hold on, let me.
I'll type it. Give me a half sec. And meanwhile, I'll as I'm typing, I'll just give Hayes thank you for the generosity and time, and have safe travels. And we will see you folks that are in New Mexico. You will be able to see Hayes Friday, the July 15th in the Railyard. and you're carrying on with a big tour, right?
Yeah, we're gonna head out for another 2.5 weeks or so, work up through the mountains and end up in Kentucky. So,
All right.
all right, let me give this a shot here. Hey, everybody, this is Hayes Carll, and you're listening to 96.9 FM KMRD LP, Madrid, New Mexico.
All right, Hayes. Safe travels, and I hope to see you and take care.
All right, Stephen, appreciate it. Adios.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye.